Yeah, so first and foremost, I just there's one preconceived thing that you mentioned there that I think is worth talking about before we get into the topic. Is you have these technical founders, and I've sold to like millions, thousands. I've actually trained over 8,000 people to sell. Like
Mm.
I've been through the ringer a couple of
Yeah.
times. What I find, the people that are the best at sales are actually that founder that is technically driven and so perfect on their product. They turn into, or they become, over a little bit of practice and time, the best salespeople.
Mhm. Hey guys, welcome to the Grow IT podcast. Your host here, Alessandro Cutri, joined today by the founder of Flowchat, Sean Malone. We'll be diving into his story, a little bit about what exactly his company is building, and some interesting insights into the industry. So definitely make sure to stick around. But without further ado, I'll just kind of pass it on over to you, Sean, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and telling the audience a little bit about you and how you got to where you are today.
Oh man. Well, we could unpack that one over a couple of
It's a
beers
loaded
and at
question,
least,
right?
yeah, that's a big one. So I'm not going to go all the way into that. But first of all,
Yeah.
Alessandra, thank you so much for having me on your Growth Show. I'm excited to be here. I think the movement you've created is pretty awesome. What you're doing for founders, helping business owners to grow to the next level is inspiring. And damn right, everyone should be listening to it. So if you're not listening to this, if you're not subscribed, I bet if this is on YouTube, like there's probably not as many subscription people. Please hit
Mhm.
that subscribe button because Alessandro,
My
I
man.
know, yeah, that's the man. That's it right there. So, I'm Sean Malone. I've built 8 companies. I've exited twice. This is my second software product. I've sold over 200 million in my career. And my focus, the reason I've been put on this earth, is to help founders communicate better. And I do that through 2 vehicles. One of them is called The Lost Art of Prospecting, and the other one's called High Ticket Sales. You probably heard of both of these things. I've been doing it for 30 years now, and I started in the sales game right out of college. In fact, I watched my dad as an entrepreneur growing up. I saw him putting in the 100 hours a week. I saw him
Yeah.
doing everything in the business and then eventually building a team and starting to incorporate systems. And then I started to see how he was able to leverage that business. And I learned at a young age, oh, that's what entrepreneurship is. I'm a son of 2 immigrant parents from South Africa. So like the drive for me to succeed, just to make my dad proud, was the one thing that always drove me through all of my entire career.
Yeah.
And then you realize a little while in, you're like, no, he's actually really proud of me the whole time. So I don't have any imposter syndrome anymore. I'm really good at what I do. A lot of people call me one of the best in the world at it. So that's exciting. And just to kind of get into it, when I came out of college, I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew one thing. I wanted to make a boatload of money. That's what I wanted to do. And so then I was like, well, who could I ask that's made some money? And I was like, oh, my dad. Like, let's go see what he's doing. So I was like, Dad,
Mhm.
what should I do? He says, get a job in sales. Okay. Like, that's what I'll do because he told me to do it. So I get this job selling commodities. Didn't know what I was doing. Wasn't good at anything. Still probably not the best at very much stuff, but I'm good at some things now. And I sucked. Like I was given this book of names and numbers, and I
Mhm.
was told, make these calls, close these deals. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like marching orders, let's go try that.
Mhm.
For 6 weeks, I made 80 cold calls a day. Alessandro, how many appointments do you think I booked in 6 weeks?
So, if you're a newbie, you probably got about a donut.
A donut, dude. 2,400 attempts for 0 booked calls or booked appointments.
Moralizing.
Crushed me. I
Yeah.
was like, F this. Why am I even here? Like,
Yeah.
this sucks. Like, I'm done. And I called my dad. I'm like, this sales thing you told me about, like, I hate it. Like, what am I doing? And he's like, don't quit. I'm like, okay, you got one freebie. This is it. He says, go to the library and read a book. I'm like, all right, thanks, dad. So I go to the library and I bought this book right here. Same book. This is the exact book I bought, right? Tom Hopkins, How to Master the Art of Selling Stuff. And I started reading this book. And I'm like, holy smoke, there's like formulas in here. And I was pretty good at school with formulas. Like, maybe this is the bridge I needed. So I go back the next morning. I pick up the phone. I start trying to do this thing. First call, I messed up. Didn't even, like, not even close. Like, I memorized this one little line. And I was like, if
Mhm.
I could say that line, maybe it'll book a call. Second call, I get on the phone and I'm like ready to deliver my line. And it's right at the right place in the call. And then the hair stands up on my neck. The sweat beads start coming down. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a bomb. Like, and I just stumbled out with the words. And the guy was like, Sean, I know what you're trying to do. Come on over on Tuesday. Let's talk. I think I need some of your stuff. And I was trying to act so cool because look, dude, like there's built up 6 weeks of back pressure of like never getting the
Mhm.
result. And finally, this guy's like, yeah, come on over. And it was so casual. And I was like trying to hold my voice on the phone. I was like, yeah, cool. See you on Tuesday. And I hung up the phone. Like, I don't know, start jumping around my office, right? And my boss, Tim, runs in. He's like, did you just close the deal? I'm like, no, no, no. I just booked an appointment. He's like, oh, get the hell out of here, right? Like, that was his, like, so that was kind of my introduction into the world of sales. Is
Yeah,
a really
yeah.
interesting journey. From that point, I got obsessed because that moment in time changed the career focus of my life. I
Mhm.
realized that everybody, including me at that time, really sucked at communicating.
Yeah,
Somehow I had to get better at it. And I thought, well, if my dad said there was a book at the library, maybe there's other books.
yeah,
And this was my self education journey, where I spent over $500,000 buying every course, every seminar, hiring every coach you could think of.
yeah.
How do I master sales?
Wow.
That was the
It's
start of the
yeah,
journey.
yeah, yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
stop there because it's probably a
No, man. I
mouthful
mean,
for you.
listen. It's funny. As you're talking, I'm thinking a lot. There's a lot of similarities between you and I, in the sense of I also came from a immigrant family. Right, my father was a business owner, owned a restaurant, and still owns a restaurant over here in Los Angeles. And I grew up in the restaurant business, right, and always learning from him, and being able to take exactly what he did, and just see exactly how the business was run, right, and
Yeah.
having that experience at a young age, always. I didn't know I was going to go and start my own business, but once I finally did, I went back to my dad and I was like, man, I have this newfound appreciation for you, dad, not knowing how hard it is to start a damn business. All right. And going down that path, and now I'm in the thick of it. And we always talk about things and talk about business together, but having that upbringing, all of it always stems from, like, dad, I want to make you proud, right? So it's like, dad, I want to be able to make sure that whatever you did here, I can do 10 times, right? And so it's an inspiring story, and to hear obviously your journey through sales. I think I started in door to door on in the solar world, right? And so that was my first
Been there, done that, man. Dad,
that
dude,
was
I
my
just,
first introduction to sales. And so when you talk about getting some hair in your chest when it comes to being okay with rejection, right? I remember the first time I got someone to book an appointment from going door to door, I was like, dude, I was like, I'm
yeah,
killing it, man. I'm killing it.
yep,
They didn't even
yep.
sign a deal yet. I was like, I just got an appointment to come back the day tomorrow. I'm like, this is all I need.
That was
Um,
it. That
but no,
was it.
and I think and I think where I want to take this, because I think sales is one of those fundamental skills as a business owner that you have to learn at some point, right? It's not one of those things that you
Not
can
at some
test.
point. You need to learn it first. Like that's the
Yeah,
only skill, right?
yeah.
Like
Well,
everybody's selling somebody to something. Every conversation is a sales conversation. Whatever. Your
exactly,
wife, your
exactly.
wife,
And
yeah.
and I think there's a lot of founders who are more technical based, right? That love the technology side of things, or maybe they're more engineering focused, that will shy away from the sales or sales and marketing side because they're not that passionate about it per se. But to your point, you have to learn, right? It's the thing that you have to do before you do anything else. So what are I guess in your mind, like, what are some quick ways that, I mean, nothing's quick, but what are some ways that founders can really start going down that journey of being able to start to acquire the right skill set in terms of selling?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I just there's one preconceived thing that you mentioned there that I think is worth talking about before we get into the topic
Yeah, yeah.
is you have these technical founders, and I've sold to like millions, thousands of. I've actually trained over 8,000 people to sell. Like so, like
Mhm.
I've been through the ringer a couple of
Yeah.
times. What I find, the people that are the best at sales are actually that founder that is technically driven and so perfect on their product. They turn into, or they become, over a little bit of practice and time, the best salespeople.
Mhm.
Why? Because yeah, the sales stuff doesn't feel good when you wear it for the first time. You're putting it on, it's hardcore. But when you get through that bit of the conversation and now you're over here in techno land, there's nobody better than that founder that knows all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be the first thing I'll say is if you are the founder listening to the show for the first time, again, hit subscribe. But after that, then think about this. The first part of the sales conversation is just discovery. It's just learning whether or not you get to let this guy in on the goods on the tech that you know. And
Hmm.
that's all it is. It's that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Understand where he's in his world or she's in that place, and whether or not your solution can solve a problem. You can determine that because you're so technical as a founder. You know
Yeah.
if you can solve the problem just by asking a few questions. So
Yeah.
ask those questions first and keep all that techno babble down in your stomach until it's time to let it out. Because when it's time to let it out, you are going to impress the pants off anybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big shift that you need to make. If you're that founder that's more technically driven, product driven, want to develop, be in the cubicle with the hoodie on, like building code or whatever, like that's great. I love those people. They make the world go round. But communication needs to come just before that piece. And yes, you
Definitely.
don't, as a founder, you have to learn it. You don't always have to do it. I think that's the other piece of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there's a couple of things as you get into sales that I'll share. Somebody asked me once upon a time, says, Sean, and again, sales is my jam. Like that's my favorite thing to do. But other than prospecting, which we can definitely talk about, and we'll get into that in a bit here. But
Mhm.
somebody once asked me, said, Sean, how do you become the best salesperson on earth? I want to
Mhm.
be a sales professional. What do I need to do? What's the one thing? I thought about this question for a long time, and there's not one answer. There's three. First answer, you have to be 100% convicted about what you sell.
Oh,
Okay.
yep.
So if you're not 100% convicted, I mean, going to the mountaintop, screaming at the top of your lungs, selling it for free, that's the type of level of conviction that you need on your own stuff. So if you already have that, checkbox. If you
Yeah.
don't have that, pull out a notepad, have a couple of beers, wine, smoke a joint, whatever, and write down all the stuff of why you're not convicted about why your own product is amazing or
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you can't sell yourself on the stuff you just wrote down, hand it to someone like Alessandro, find a business coach, a partner, somebody who can sell you on your own concept more than you're sold, because you need to boost your conviction to 100%. That's number one.
Yeah.
When you have the conviction, now you go to this place called calm confidence where you can talk about the thing with a
Yeah.
lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Okay. So conviction number one. Number two, you have to be consistent, right?
Mm.
You can learn a selling system in an afternoon. I built one. It's helped me close $200 million, right? I sell it for $4,000 like at a time.
Mhm.
You can absorb that whole system in an afternoon or a weekend.
Yeah.
So you know how to sell after an afternoon or a weekend. Like that's
Yeah.
it. You know it. But you need the consistent reps in order to practice the skills that you learned
Definitely.
from the thing in
Mhm.
order to become good at sales. So number two is consistency. You got to have at bats. That's where
Yep.
my software was developed and came from. Because if you don't have the opportunities, you could never close a deal, right?
Yep.
So that's number two, consistency. And then number three, you have to have persistency. You talked about it a minute ago, Alessandro. I think it's good to reiterate this fact. Know that you're going to get your ass knocked down. You probably get your teeth punched out. You can get
Yeah.
your face slammed in. But your job is to put a shield on and don't care, because some people will, some people won't. So what? Move on. Continue moving towards the objective
Yeah.
that you're trying to focus on. And it's like Les Brown said, if you fall down and you can see up, you
Get
better
up.
get up. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think that that's such practical advice that people can take. And as you're kind of listing through those, three things, I think that that's, what obviously advanced me in my sales career, and because you're never, it's a never ending journey, right? As a founder, what I've, like you said, what actually is going to sell better than anything, right? Because you can have the tactics, you can have this, you can have that, but the belief, right? The belief in what it is that you're selling. And one of the things that I do to always remind myself of that, or to even coach sales teams, is show them the testimonials. It's like I show them the testimonials, I show them the case studies, right? I'm like, hey, like talk to these people and see how their lives have changed from what we sell. Because once you do that, it's almost you have to remind yourself, and it's a constant reminder of what it is that, because then also there's a degree of objection handling, right? When people are either throwing you some type of objection or throwing you something, to also not buy into what they're saying, and knowing that like there's a part of it where it's like, hey, if you know your product can actually help this person, you almost have a moral obligation to stay on that call with them and try to sit in the pocket and see exactly what it is that how you can actually help them, if your product can actually help them, because otherwise you're unethical, right? And so
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing, right? It's like if you have a good product, you should go to the ends of the means to try to help people to help themselves, right? Because as you know, right, like a lot of times prospects, people, don't necessarily want to make decisions, and maybe they want to make a decision that's not the best for them. And you, as a salesperson, has to have the ability to be able to help them with that decision, and help them make the best decision for them. Sometimes that's not buying your product either, right? So there's an element of that, right, into that. But yeah, I'd obviously I do want.
Can I just cut
Yeah,
in? I
go
just
ahead.
want to share like what you shared is so valuable. In fact, you wrapped up a bunch of the core values that we run off of with our business. To sell is to serve. You
Mhm.
said it. To sell is to love. Love is a strategy.
Yeah,
So our first core competency in our business, our first core value is love, right? Second one is kindness.
yeah,
Kindness is also a strategy. You can be a dick and close deals, or you can be kind and close deals. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Right. And then the next one's me versus we. You want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, build a team that loves you and cares about you, and they'll build you an empire that you can never get rid of.
yeah,
Right. And then the last one, of course, is Kaizen. You also mentioned that is continuous improvement. Like that's it. Those are the
yeah,
four core values of everything we represent over at Flowchat. Like that's it. So,
yeah. No,
which is dope.
100%.
Like I love it.
Yeah, and it's all about. I think the biggest thing that I've realized is when I've been sold things in the past, or like, because always as salespeople, right, we're always deconstructing like, okay, why did I buy something? Like, what is it that made me buy, or what is it that made me like the salesperson of the way that they did things? And I always kind of like come back to the realization that it comes from the person that was either selling to me or the person that was communicating with me. Like, I felt that they genuinely cared about me, right, or they genuinely had my best interest. And that was what persuaded me to want to do it, because I'm like, hey, this guy is actually coming from a place of like empathy and care, right? Because then there's also the byproduct of that, or like the ulterior side, which is commission breath, right? When it's just,
Ah, you said the
just
term. I was waiting to see if you were going to say it, but that's totally it, man. No, everybody hates commission breath. It
yeah,
smells bad. It feels bad. Makes you like it's a garbage, dude. So
yeah,
like I'm totally with you on that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, 100%. So that is the polar opposites that I've always figured out. It's like, hey, how do you be like that trusted advisor and that
Mhm.
consultant, that consultant that can actually help people, like you said, make those best decisions for them.
In
But real
fact,
quick,
in case in point, right? You said some will, some won't. So what? I said that too. The best of the best closers. Okay, and so like I would put myself in a category of really good. Over the past 4 years, my close rate has been 54.3%. I close more than one in two people that I talk to. So it's on me to let somebody that's good or bad into my company. I don't let the bad people in. And that's the level of sales that you can attain. It's mastery. But even at that level, I'm still missing almost half. So,
yeah,
like, you will close some, you won't close all. You'll probably close less than you do close, and it's
yeah,
okay to be that way. Best batting averages in baseball are 300. That
yeah,
means 3 out of 10 times you get a hit. That means 7 out of 10 you don't. Same
yeah.
thing with sales.
Yeah. Yeah. And before because I definitely want to continue talking about, I mean, we're
Yeah.
both obviously passionate within the sales space. But I wanted you to tell the audience a little bit about, Flowchat, because we
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
really go
yeah.
too much into that. What are you've obviously built some companies before, and this is not your first rodeo. So what was it that maybe like inspired you to build out Flowchat, and kind of what would you say that unique value proposition really is?
Yeah. So at the very highest level, if we're looking at what Flowchat is and does, Flowchat really does kind of like one thing. It's based on three pillars. So the one thing that it does is it helps founders to find, connect, and close deals through personal DMs. A lot of people coined us as the category kings of personal DMs. Why? Because we work on 15 social media platforms. It's more than any other company close. Not even another one that works on more than like two. So wherever you play on social, our
Hmm.
tool will probably work for you. Okay.
Huh.
So that's the first thing. So we help to find, connect, and close deals through
Uh-huh.
personal messenger. And
Uh-huh.
the three pillars that Flowchat runs on, number one is universal import, meaning choose your platform. We'll do an example. Alessandro, what's your favorite platform that you use all the time?
For prospecting, or for just like anything?
Prospect. Let's call it prospecting. We'll go down the path.
Yeah, for
Prospect.
LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Perfect. So if we chose LinkedIn as an example, there's a couple of techs that help you do some of the things on there. Our tech helps you do a lot of things. Number one, we can go into a LinkedIn group. We can collect all the group members in one click. We could go to your biggest competitor. And if he just made a post that went viral, we can collect all the likes or the comments on his post. We can go to your own followers list and we can pull all of those. We can grab any connections from anybody else that's on the planet and a million other ways to find the right people. Russell Brunson once told me, because he's been my coach since 2016. I've been in the inner circle. I love him. I'm speaking at FHL in a month, which is dope. The idea is like your clients, you don't create them, you just have to find them. And when I shifted from being a hunter to a gatherer, everything changed in my prospecting world because I realized there's so much client opportunity everywhere you look. You just have to be focused on like one pathway and get that
Mhm.
one working and then add the next one and the next one and the next one. And this is why we
Mhm.
built the tech to do what it does. So
Mhm.
again, pillar one is infinite lead gen in one click. Pillar two, like most softwares that are kind of in the realm of where we play, they only do the marketing part, which means, hey, buy my software, I'll get you a million leads. Cool. What does somebody that doesn't know what to do with a million leads do with a million leads?
Uh-huh.
Nothing. We
Mhm.
need to have a system that drives them from, hey, here's a million leads, step by step by step by step by step to close deal. That's what we want. So when we built Flowchat, part two, pillar number two is what
Uh-huh.
we call the DM campaign, or we call it pipeline view. You've
Yeah.
seen a million of them. Ours is
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
designed and built for personal DMs. We have some really unique feature sets that are within that. So you can manage every single conversation. You never lose track of where someone is in a conversation. Case in point, we had a girl named Fabi. She has a branding agency. Sean, I'm doing $40,000 a month. I would like, my glass ceiling is 40,000. I can't break it. I can't break it. Okay, what are you doing? I'm reaching out to people I don't know with paid ads, and I'm just using outreach, and I'm driving them into my Facebook group. I'm trying to nurture them in the DMs, book a call, and close the deal. That's what she was doing. Okay, cool. Perfect flow. I like that. We've done tens of millions of dollars with that flow. All she was missing was a system to not let people slip through the cracks. As soon as we put this in, she is now consistently doing 250K a month.
Now,
And
real
it, and
quick, can I ask a clarifying question there, Sean, just
yeah.
for the audience itself? Now, the tool that you guys use, is it like responding to these
Oh,
messages?
great question.
Is it a?
So it's not okay. So we're not considered a bot, right?
Mhm.
So I don't really like so GPT and the AI stuff right now is not an advanced enough point in time as we're filming this
Mhm.
to actually speak intelligently in a DM capacity.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I at this current time, by the way, we built our own large language model. We have server space in Europe and Texas. We're building our own
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
specific for DM conversations,
Yeah.
not anything else. So that's coming soon, right? We're working on that this year.
Uh-huh.
We're calling it the DM Creator, which is going to be dope. But the yeah, so the idea is our system has the ability to do it manually
Mhm.
completely. You can do
Mhm.
it semi-automated, just maybe turning on a few pieces of the automation that makes sense for you. And
Mhm.
or if you're really ready to go full automation, it will do things. Now, it's not going to message back and forth. That's
Mhm.
what a bot does. But
Yeah.
what my system will do, say for example, you're running paid ads on Instagram, okay?
Yeah.
And your ad designed to get people to follow your personal profile. If that
Yeah.
was your use case,
Yeah. Yeah.
then what we're doing is we turn on a full automation. What my full automation does will it will check the Instagram profile every hour on the hour or whenever you set it. And if you get a new follower, it'll immediately suck that person right into your system. And then the following day, the second automation at 7 a.m., Monday through Friday, running
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 7 a.m., will
Yeah.
kick off. And it'll take that person that was a follower in your account and it
Mhm.
will pre qualify them against the criteria you set up. Got to be in America, got to speak English, got to do whatever the criteria is of who you're
Uh-huh.
selling to. And then it's pre qualified. Now, if you want, you can manually click a button, paste a message, and track. Okay, because you can store your messaging. So
Uh-huh.
we have a system where you actually write all your messages, or we can write them for you. We have AI write them, whatever, and we put the whole campaign down. Like it's a campaign from start to finish. It's not just like your first message. It's like here's how you get a deal in your bank account, and we put that whole campaign in. And now you can set up these automations that help assist.
Mm.
They can find your followers every single day, hour on the hour for you. No one does that. That's amazing, brand new. Pulls them in your account, pre-qualifies them, sends them likes in one of their posts, sends them a
Yeah.
connection request, whatever. Once they connect, it'll determine that, and it can send a first message or second message, or you can set it up to run all of it for you. But
Yeah.
it's pre-built messaging instead of on-the-fly bot response.
Yeah.
So we do have an AI assistant which if you don't know what to say, you can click the button and it'll say, oh, you're trying to book a call. Here's the next best thing you could say. And then it'll drop that. And you could use that or you can modify it or whatever. So
Got
it's a
it.
hybrid system.
Interesting.
It's more so.
Are you guys working to develop out because that an AI agent piece of that almost to be able to respond and to do all? that, or I'm just curious, is that like on the roadmap for you
Yeah, so
guys?
we have one coming, but the problem with it is that we already know this going into it is all the social platforms have X's and black marks against those things. Everyone's trying to get
Mm.
rid of bots. They don't like them, like bot farms and all the other stuff. So for us to make this as compliant as possible within the terms of service of all the platforms, they say no automations, no bots, right?
Got it. Got it. Okay.
So
Okay.
while we do have it, I would consider us, we'd call ourselves a smart messaging company. So we're not just exactly a software company, we're actually smart messaging. Because if you have smart messaging in your brand, smart messaging in your DMs, smart messaging in your emails, you don't want to always use that stuff. And then if you want to use socials and you want to use our tool, great. We have the tool and you can use it on every platform and it
Yeah.
is robust and it'll kill any
And
tool that's out there. But
and
yeah,
so
that's the other side.
so yeah, and first of all, I love the use case and I love the way that you've broken it down. And I'm curious as to like what would you say is like your ideal client profile? Like, who are the type of, and you mentioned like that brand agency, but who else do you guys really like
Yeah. So if
to
you're a
work with?
founder, a co-founder, an owner, a co-owner, like that's the job titles. We only search for four, keep it really simple. And we look for somebody that has kind of a small team, usually doing between 500,000, a million a year or more, because they
Mhm.
do. I mean, it's a software membership, right? It's like we don't want to drown anyone if they're like brand new in business, probably not the best fit. But these are the people that have maybe been burned on paid ads, or maybe they're spending money on paid ads and getting results, but they're sick and tired of the ROAS. They don't like their costs. Like you have to consistently do that. Maybe people that have tried challenges or summits before and they've got into that like boom and bust cycle and they're like, oh, I hate it. Like I have to go do another one. We don't ever want any founder to feel like that. We want to install a system. By the way, our system plays nicely with every method that you use.
Yeah.
We did a virtual summit. Russell was the headliner. We had Uncle Myron Golden and all the big names you could think of.
Yeah.
We did a challenge that we spent tens of thousands of dollars on. Didn't do anything for us. It just put us in those like bad moods kind of a thing. So we were like,
Yeah.
well, DMs are the move that's always helped us and had us moving through the whole thing. And it's so crazy because most people are good at DMs. They just don't know how to do them. That's
Yeah.
all. And so
Yeah.
when you see a structure, a format, a framework of here's the four hinge points that every DM conversation goes through, as long as you hit every four hinge point in your conversation, you're bound to get the right results.
Yeah. Now I'm
So
sure when you're, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm sure when you're doing those DMs, are you thinking of like, because you're mentioning like selling the actual product within the DM, it probably ranges from like depending on how big your ticket size is, right? From or are you guys doing all of your selling through the DM itself? You're not even
we've only used Flowchat to sell Flowchat, and we've done tens of millions of dollars. We've never done anything else for it.
hmm.
Because it's so powerful and so successful.
Yeah.
But yes, in your example, every client has a different price point. Every client has a different service, offer, product, whatever.
Yeah.
The secret is if you have a product or a service that's about $500 or more, this system will fly for you,
Yeah.
right? And so, and again, I would say product that's about 500 or more, been around for a while, doing 500 to $1 million a year, kind of minimum, and then has a proven product and proven path. Has actually sold some stuff before. That
Yeah.
person's a natural home run for just buying a membership and ripping. We have other people, we call them our resellers, white labelers, right? So we have 52 clients that have purchased our software and relabeled it into their own brand. And now they sell memberships as well. Those are going to be more of your lead gen marketing agencies, digital agencies that are teaching their clients lead gen, some other things. It's a really great use case for that. And that's a big push for us. We have we have a couple of clients that have hundreds of accounts, right? So
Yeah.
they're charging anywhere from 300 to 3,000 a month for those accounts. They got hundreds
Got
of
it.
them. Like they're making some coins, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Interesting.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's so fascinating. I mean, I always love talking to other founders, especially, ones that are kind of building out. Obviously, there's like, competitors within your space, right, that do things similar, but I definitely like your angle. I think it's very unique in the way that you guys are approaching it and kind of how you've packaged it, because I don't think anybody has packaged it in necessarily in the way that you guys have, at least that to my knowledge. And I use a lot of tools, right? I mean, we're a big tool company, being in the marketing space, right? So I did want to segue a little bit. Obviously, that's like I really like your product, and we'll definitely make sure that we include some links for people to go check that out within the description itself. But I want to switch back gears into talking a little bit, for those founders or CEOs that are listening to this that are maybe a little bit early on in their career and maybe they haven't, really sold a lot. They're maybe not even at, 500 to or $1 million in revenue. Like, what would be your advice for those people to say, like, hey, here's some things that you should start doing to make sure that you're closing deals on a more consistent basis?
Okay, great question. And we're getting into the practical and tactical now. So before I share the tips, because I got like two really good ones that I'll give to you, I just want to kind of like back up and share kind of how FlowChat came to be, because I think if you understand the whole history of it, you'll be like, oh yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
So we had our first software product, it was called Digital Genius Lab, and it taught paid ads. And we launched it and it did 13 million in 10 months. And it burned me out to the point where I wanted to kill myself. And so I was driving on the road to Russell Brunson's high ticket mastermind, and I saw a tree and I almost pulled into the tree and just ended my life, but I didn't because I had my best friend, my wife was in the passenger seat. And so I was like, okay, can't do the tree thing. And I just started busting in tears. It was misery. We went to this convention and I had this whole presentation prepared because those people are all like the biggest hitters of the biggest hitters. And I canceled that presentation. I changed it around. I said, look, I'm just going to share my story because there's a lot of ups and downs, and I'm going to be super vulnerable in front of all these 100 millionaires, and they're going to shred me. And I can't do it anymore. So I have to share what I'm doing. And so I got super vulnerable in that room. And I said, here's my ups, here's my lows. First they were cheering, then they were crying. And at the end, Russell stands up and he goes, Sean, it's not just me, right? I'm a co-founder of this product, but I was standing on stage with my partner, Chris, and Russell says, Sean, you guys are level 10 doing a level 2 thing. You need to kill your baby. You need to sell your software company. And at this time, I'm like, dude, we just did 8 figures. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, get rid of it because it's killing your soul. We sold the company. It took us a year, right? And then we're like, what do we do? Russell, what do we do? Well, what are you good at? We're good at sales. Okay, all these online entrepreneurs need help with sales. Oh, interesting. There was a problem in the market. We listed, okay, so this is what those founders should be doing, because we didn't know what to do. We were where you are right now if you're listening to this. So what we did was this. Russell said, go talk to the people that you'd like to sell to. Chris and I sat down and made a list of 50 dream clients. If you hear this closely, that's the tactic. Write down 50 dream clients that you would love to work with, and then reach out to them and say something like this, because this is what we did. We're good at sales. Let's figure out what you're good at. And we reached out to them through DMs and we said, hey, you're awesome, first of all. And we're thinking about launching the sales thing. Curiously, would you be open to a marketing research call to talk about your sales?
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 50, 48 of them said yes. Crazy. So we booked 48 calls, right? And then we talked to all 48 of them. Now, in these calls, we did not sell anything. All we did is we got on them. We said, hey, we're really good at the sales thing. We just sold our big business. Like, we're just actually going to get back into this. Tell us about your sales. Do you struggle? Do you hate it? Everyone's like, I'm frustrated with it. I hate it. I wish I had a team. I wish I didn't have to do it. It keeps me up at night. Like, all the things, right? They all came out. They're like, cool. By the end of these 48 calls, 5 people would not let us get off the phone until we said that we would help them. So if you're a founder thinking about this, this is what you should do. Okay. So now all of a sudden we have 5 clients. Now, this wasn't a small ticket. This was a $30,000 product for 6-month delivery. That's what we were selling. And we knew we were going to sell that, but we didn't say it on the call until 5 people are like, hey, like, let's book the second call because we want to get involved with you. And so we booked those 5 calls, second call. Hey, 30 grand for 6 months. You in? They said, yes. Great. Boom. Agency was born with 5 clients paying us 30 grand a pop. That's how we started the agency. And then we started serving these clients. And what we did for them in the first month is we showed them, because the focus was how to hire, onboard, and train a sales team. Simple, right? And we went to them and we hired, onboarded, and trained their sales team and built the sales ecosystem and said, here you go. Merry Christmas. You got the whole package.
Yeah.
They loved it. 4 or 5 months in, we'd showed their team how to smash their entire warm market. And every client had 100 to 300% revenue growth month over month, like crazy. And then these 5 owners come back and they're like, Sean, thank you so much for the sales team that you just built me, but now I can't sleep at night. I'm like, what are you talking about? You have a killer sales team. And they're like, yeah, but I stay awake thinking about how am I going to get more leads in front of the team you just built me. And I was like, I didn't realize this was even a problem. right? And so Chris and I were thinking about this. We're like, okay, like what do we do? And we're like, why don't we use a system that we used before the internet, like way back in the like early 90s when we were like manually doing all it, like that system worked. So hey, this is the thing that worked for us, put it in your business. Of course, it was updated, it wasn't phone calls, it was use DMs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we modified them. We started teaching them to use DMs, every one of them, 100% growth, 100% growth, month over month over month. We're like, whoa, this is powerful. We need to teach that in a master class. So Chris and I launched a mastermind for $25,000 a year. Buy this mastermind, 3 months, put the system in your business and hire a Filipino VA to run it. 9 months, advanced sales coaching to knock down the deals off the back end of the system. We had dozens and dozens and dozens of clients come through this. We had 83% success rate. Huge number.
Wow.
2 years in, one of our clients is like, Sean, you guys are teaching this off a spreadsheet and a piece of paper. You need a software. We're like, I had PTSD from the first one, but okay. Our messaging collided with our CTO's messaging. Hey, what do you do, Mr. CTO? I built this crazy tech in 2017, but I have no clients. What do you guys do? We have thousands of clients, but we don't have a software. What if we put 100 in? See what happens. So we put 100 people into the software that he built, and everything broke as you'd expect. But he fixed it in like a day and a half. And that was the sign of like, whoa, this guy we should pay attention to. So we put another 100 clients in. More stuff broke, and he fixed it even faster. And at that point, Chris and I are like, hey, like let's make something happen here. So we merged, acquired the IP, brought the company to today's date, redressed the whole thing, launched it in 2020, and 4 years later, here we sit helping over 3,500 founders. Yeah,
Wow.
just for the prospecting part.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love stories like that. And I think that's like a very classic, entrepreneurial type of journey or tale at least, right? Where it's like you do this thing and then like you figure out like, wait a second, like they're coming back to me and they're saying this. It's like, well, what if we did this? And like, what if we put this right here and able to help them out? And I can think of countless times that that's kind of happened within my own journey, right? Where we figured out like, wait a second, the clients are saying this. They're saying that that this is the part where they need help. I thought we just needed to help them there. And like, then it spins off a whole new offering, right? That you can then be able to repackage to them. And it's so vital as a business owner, I think, to be able to pivot and know when to, take advantage of those opportunities that you're seeing in the market and seeing from your customers that are telling you things, right? Because I think that was one of the things I always talk with founders about is that it's like, when should you keep doing what you're doing, right? In terms of like going through a wall, or when do you know like, hey, wait a second, there's another opportunity here that's even bigger than what I'm doing right now. I got to take advantage of this, right? And so
yeah, and I think the one caveat that you have to think about when you're talking about that, because I think it's right on point, is what the market's saying, this other thing that you need to build or fix, or there's a problem over here, is it within alignment of your vision? If it's not, don't do it.
yeah,
Because if you get spread thin, now you're chasing two rabbits. When you chase two or more rabbits, you never catch any.
exactly. And that's a great point, right? It's a great point. Is that aligning with obviously what the bigger picture of the goal of the company is, right? And
Absolutely.
and that's how you don't go down those rabbit holes that actually don't amount to anything as well, right?
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, right? When you spread yourself too thin, as you know, right? Even as a software, right? You try to do too many things as a software, you end up doing the core thing not as good. And that's one of the things that I've noticed, even in using a lot of different softwares and trialing a lot of different things, is that the ones that try to have all these different features, or they try to do different capabilities and they try to do a lot of them, they're typically mediocre in each category, right? And not to throw any shade at there's always one that I think of that comes to mind. You might even use them, right? And it's not even to throw shade at Go High Level. I think Go High Level is a great product. I think the way that I always describe it to my partners, like, I've used Go High Level. They do a lot of things, but they don't do like one thing like better than any other company, right? And I think as a software, or like because we're thinking about developing out a software at some point, we always think about what is that one thing that we can do that'll be just better than anybody else in the market, within there itself. And like I said, no shade at Go High Level. They're killing it. They're absolutely doing a great job of reselling and all that, and being able to take over that market. But it's just a thought that always comes to my mind whenever we're talking about these
Yeah,
types of.
so Sean, Clark, Robin, Alex, and Varun, the three owners, co-founders of High Level, are buddies of mine. So I've hung out with them a number of times, and the way they were able to combat what you just talked about, because it's a real thing, right? You always want the best of the best, right? So Go High Level is good at a lot of things, but they're not the best of the best at any one thing.
Yeah.
And I've even mentioned this to these guys, and they're like, yeah, we get it, but we have so much money that we've raised, and we have such a big team now that we can actually just serve such a big market that like we can't specialize at this point. So they've actually developed past that point
Yeah.
where they would have to like delete a lot of things, and then people get pissed, right?
Yeah.
And so for them, great. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
used them too. They're an awesome tech.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love their movement. In fact, our tech plays really nicely with Go High Level. You can embed it inside there.
Mhm.
So if you're
Mhm.
using High Level as like a CRM, then you can use Flowchat inside of yours as like the prospecting part,
Yeah.
which is super cool. And yeah, what we became the best in the world at was direct messaging,
Yeah.
and it started in text, and then it moved into DMs, and it's like still directly a parallel. And if there's one thing that I'm world, I don't know, people said that I'm top 5 in the world at DM messaging. So,
Yeah,
which is
that's
cool.
awesome. And it's
Right.
finding it's about knowing what you're good at, right? And being able
Yeah.
to like you say, hey, this is where we want to stay and this is where we want to take over the and build a moat, right, around that itself,
Yeah.
because that's how you build that moat as
And
that
then
entrepreneur.
everything around it, right? So it's like anything that we ever design, and we're really what's really interesting about us is like progressive softwares. There are a lot of people that will build something that does become world class at this one thing that it does, but then they don't have the backup, the tech backup for the dev and the things when they break. And so I think like the other piece to think about is like we build based on our community. They say, I wish it would do this. And they drop it on a canny board. And then it goes to the community and they upvote. Hey, 50 people want this feature. Guess what's getting built? That feature, right? And it's all around the thing that we do is DM messaging
Yeah.
at scale. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
So,
it's so important, obviously, to have the. I mean, people always talk about that. Listen to your customers, listen to what they're saying, but it's for that reason right there as well. And
yeah.
I was talking to another entrepreneur the other day, and we were talking about the companies that actually don't innovate are the companies that will lose over time, right? Because at a certain point, your competition will catch up to you and what you're doing, and they'll be able to overtake your market share if you're not
Yep.
continuously innovating and spending money on developing out new features or new things that are
Mm-hmm.
complementary to obviously what you're building out essentially, right?
It's
And
so
so
funny you say that because like when we were early stages, like mid to late 2020, right? When COVID had happened, we were kind of in the digital underverse with our hoods on building the stuff, right? And we had a lot of people who kind of were like these hotshot people, and they would get on the phone with us, and we were trying to sell the software, and they would say, "Yo, man, I could take what you built there, and I can go use whatever no code and build it tomorrow." And I would sit there based on what you just said. I'd be like, "Sure, actually, do you want the baseline code? I'll give it to you for free. Then you don't have to develop it. You can just have it." Because even if I gave that to you, you're never going to catch us. We're so far in front of you. Like, unfortunately, it's just the way it is. And
yeah,
so, for knowing that gives me, again, one of those things about conviction. We talked about this
yeah,
is I know my dev team would smoke anybody.
yeah.
Right. And that gives me a lot of conviction to say things like that because that's a pretty bold thing to say.
That is a bold thing to say, and it's
Right.
funny because we had a similar type of situation that even happened to us where we were thinking about giving things away for free. Like we're like,
Yeah.
hey, should we give this away for free to like people that are an audience? Do you think they could be able to rip us off what it is that we do? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my partner were having a conversation about it. He's like, I've put so much time into this code because my partner's more of the technical. He's like, they're not gonna be like, we can give them the framework, but they're not gonna be able to piece it together like we can. Like, there's
Yep.
just no way. Right.
That's
And
it.
so, and when you have that level of, conviction to that as well, you can, you say, hey, yeah, take it, go for it, try it yourself.
Yeah. I
Right.
want to see what you
Uh,
build because it's not
yeah.
going to beat ours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Hey, man, Sean, it's been a pleasure getting the chance to dive in deep with, some practical strategies and really, the story of how you guys have been building Flowchat. I mean, it sounds like you've lived a couple lives in one life, right? It sounds like you've done a couple of things, and you've definitely got you've got some stories to back them, which is always fun to talk about. But before we go ahead and end here, man, I always like to ask a more loaded question towards the end if I haven't already been asking enough of those. Uh, but you've done a couple things, man. Like you said, it's your eighth business, right? You've building Flowchat now. If you had to, maybe just give one or two things that you would say that you've learned, right, throughout your whole career, right, that have been like the most vital things to you, right, that you'd be willing to share with founders, CEOs, whoever may be that kind of shaped you as a person? What would you say those one or two things are?
That's a deep and loaded question, my friend.
Yeah, I try to warn you.
Yeah, sales is a lot like dating. You can woo any chick or any dude with two things: humor and romance. So that's the first thing I would say. If you want to be a good communicator with just people in your world, remember, use humor and romance. Now, romance doesn't mean take him to bed and bang him or nothing like that. Romance simply means do something thoughtful for them,
Yeah.
right? And so if you want to be a better human, right? Have a little humor, even if it's dry. Everyone's got a sense of humor. And when you try to crack jokes, it's great, right? Because if you mess up, you laugh. And if you did it, like, you laugh, which is cool, right? Sometimes there's awkwardness, but whatever. But humor and romance, that works with regular people, but it also works when you're selling stuff, right? If you make light of a situation and you keep it real and right to the point, and then you come in with the romance saying, like, look, there's a problem here, but there's 2 3 solutions you can choose to fix it. Like, how are we going to do this? Because we're on the same team, right? So I think that's kind of that humor and romance element that if you drop into a sales conversation, it works the same way. I've been doing this for years. The first book I ever read on this when I was 16 was called, never told anybody this, Mac Tactics When Hostage Negotiating Meets the Dating Scene. That was the
Ah,
name of the book that I read. And so from that book, my brain has been messed up ever since then. So
uh,
because it works in dating and it works in
yeah.
sales. So like a very close
There's a big
correlation. So
correlation.
yeah,
There's
I'd
a
say
big
humor and
correlation.
romance, like those are two things that I hold very dear to my chest and like I use all the time. So that's the first one. And then the second one is love. Sell with love, because to sell is to serve. If you're really truly wanting to make an impact in someone's life, and you want the byproduct to be a lot of money. So, like I said, I wanted to make a lot of money. I realized in order to do that, I have to make impact for other people, and the byproduct is money. When I recognized that was the big shift, all my shift says, look, we have 30 minutes together today, Alessandro. How on earth do I help you make impact in this next 30 minutes or for the future? And all of my conversations have been geared or tuned that direction to make impact versus getting money, which is commission breath. And when you shift those couple of things, you'll have success. You just got to stay at it. Remember, be convicted, stay consistent, and be persistent. Yeah.
I don't think there's a better note to end on than that, Sean. I appreciate you for coming on, man. What are some places that, people, if they're listening to this, they want to check out Flowchat, maybe they even want to talk to you.
Yeah.
What are some good ways to find you guys?
If you want to find me, I'm in the DMs. Come find me anywhere. You can find me, right? So just look up Sean Malone. It's Sean Malone, the Sean Malone. I'm somewhere. Look for my pretty face. Some of my pictures have this huge, like, pirate's beard. You can find them with the purple background. Come check me out. Just say what's up to me. Say that you heard me from Alessandro's podcast. Um, that's one. You can go check out flowchat.com. That's two. If you want to see our tech, that's awesome. And then the third thing that I'll share with Alessandro, I'm going to tell you guys what it is. I'm not going to tell you the link or nothing. I recently built a text tips system that you can opt in. And each day I'll send you a text with a short tip to become a master sales. Master sales in 30 days from these text tips. And by the way, you're going to be good at sales in 30 days, which is dope, all through your cell phone, which is amazing. So I'll give Alessandro a specific link. We'll drop those in the show notes. If you want the 30 mastery in sales in 30 days, that will be the link that you can click.
I love it. I love it. Make sure to go check out Sean and what they're doing. They're doing something special. Have full endorsement over here from Grow IT. Thank you again, Sean, for stopping by. If you guys didn't make it all the way to the end, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe like Sean was telling you at the beginning.
Yeah,
We
dude.
hope you guys have a great rest of your day and take it easy. Ciao, ciao.
Bye for now.